Hi, babe. Welcome to the Horror Babe Show. I'm your host, Chelsea Beller. And today we have a very special guest on, my friend, Justin, also known as T. Justin Ross. Justin recently produced a horror mystery thriller entitled New Life. John Rossman's directorial debut has now a 93% on Rotten Tomatoes. You need to see this film. New Life is about a young woman on the run for what she thinks is murder, but it's actually much worse than that. Not only that, an agent is after her, trying to, let's say, contain her. This is an incredible film that I had the pleasure of seeing the premiere and Q&A here in LA. It is phenomenal, and because of that, I had to get Justin on the show. So, without further ado, welcome Justin. Rigby really likes
Rigby.
you.
Hey, buddy.
Right
Rigby
up on
wants
the
to
mic.
help.
He
Rigby
does.
wants to help. Rigby's gonna ask some things.
Yeah.
It's just gonna my comfort cat. Here.
This is our complimentary comfort cat.
I've seen this. Hi,
Yeah.
Rigby. Hi.
And he's so soft.
You client relations? Is that what you are?
Yes. Hi, babe. Welcome to the Horror Babe Show. I'm your host, Chelsea Beller, and today we have T. Justin Ross on the show.
Hi.
Do you go by T. Justin Ross, your full name?
I go by Justin.
Okay.
Yeah.
T. Justin Ross produced a 2023 horror mystery thriller, New Life. But his credits extend far beyond just New Life. He also produced The Old Ways, The Mortuary Collection, Aporia.
Mm-hmm.
Aporia did pretty well, actually.
Did pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have 9 wins, 6 nominations under your belt, and you've
Oh.
also directed a number of shorts. Yes, I did research you a little bit.
I don't know about those wins. You have to tell me what they are.
Just some fun independent
Okay.
wins, which
Very
I thought was
cool.
very cool.
Very cool. Thank you.
And I saw between the years of 2003 and 2012, you did some directing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did. I
Are
did
you,
back in the day.
But you consider yourself more of a producer than a director.
Yeah, I do. You know, like a lot of us, when we start out and want to be in this business, I think we're not quite sure what we want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe some of us are just kind of in love with the process or the aesthetic or what have you. And I think most of us, when we start out, just kind of have to do everything because that's the nature of it. And so...
like us.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The DIY thing.
Yeah.
And the further you get along in your career, the more it grows and the more you start to educate and understand like how certain facets work and where what different responsibilities are. And so by the time I got to my film school, I was kind of doing it all and directing a lot of my own stuff. And it was fun. But then when I was there, I realized, I'm a producer. That's kind of what I like the most.
Yeah. I love and hate producing.
Yeah, me too.
It is so much work.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work, and you have
It's
a
a lot of
lot
work.
of people depending on you.
That's right.
Yeah. But I think it's also because of that so rewarding.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, producing, what I like the most about it is you're kind of you're in charge of the team, especially when the machine gets up and running and the stress comes and there's a lot of high stakes things happening very fast. I find that your primary responsibility kind of reverts back to just taking care of the people that are in the middle of the stress.
Right.
And even though ultimately it comes back to you, if you take care of your people, they will find the solutions to the problems that are stressing you out.
Right.
So by helping people, they help you, and it's a nice kind of symbiotic relationship to deal with stress.
Yeah.
So
I love
it's tough, but
Yeah.
getting to work with people and in that kind of stress, and if you build a team with really great people, the stress is fun.
Yeah.
You know, and if you have just one bad person that
Yeah,
kind of pollutes the
one
water,
bad
everyone
seed.
just kind of like hides and covers their own department, their own responsibilities, their own neck, and ultimately then it just becomes, the stress becomes awful.
Right.
But if you have good people and you don't have one bad apple, it's the best feeling in the world, because at the end of the day, you all have come together and accomplished something that maybe at the beginning of the day you didn't know how to do.
Yeah.
And it ends up being just the greatest feeling in the world. So good or bad, there's really nothing in between with that stress.
True.
But as a producer, you kind of can hopefully control that environment and set it up for being the good feeling.
Yeah, I love that. You're kind of like a group therapist
in
a way.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
I do enjoy that part of it.
Yeah, which is not a bad thing at all. Oh, would you direct again?
Someday, maybe, if it came up. Yeah, I think, again, like, I get so much enjoyment out of kind of being a team leader more than... And again, when you start doing this, when you start off, you're doing it all. Yeah. And when you get to, like, the level that I'm at, like, directors, when you're in the middle of that chaos, that for some reason I enjoy, you're really focused on just the actors.
Yeah.
If the producer's doing their job right, the director can really focus still on the story and the actors and work with the actors throughout the day.
Right.
And I love actors. I love working with actors, and I love the creation, and the it's really satisfying. But I think what I really enjoy is, while that process is happening, taking care of the entire machine and the people that run the machine, and making sure that every department kind of has the ability and the support to do great work and be proud of what they do. And when that all comes together, that's what gives me the most satisfaction. So I love working with actors, but like, again, the higher up you go, that's kind of the main responsibility during production of the director.
Right.
And I don't like that as much as I like working with groups of people and all that.
Yeah.
So, someday maybe, but that's a long answer, but it would have to be the right project and the right time. And
definitely.
Not for a while.
Well, this was John Rossman?
Yeah.
John Rossman's directorial debut.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so I remember seeing you two around quite a bit.
Were
you a part of the creative process? Like, were you helping with like writing and
development and such?
Yeah.
I think because I don't know, it feels weird talking about myself, but because I have that background kind of as a director, I think I'm able to kind of wear that hat a little bit more than some producers that maybe came up through line producing or development or something else. And I have background in those as well, but because maybe I've got that part of my brain which is kind of developed a little bit, I do enjoy working with directors and writers a lot in the development process to try to mine for creative moments that are great and potential beats that can be really powerful. And I have a little background in that professionally, but I think it's just kind of my ability to maybe put on that filmmaker hat and speak the language and maybe understand the drive and what excites someone in that position. So I was able to work with John a little bit on development of this one.
That's really cool.
He came to me originally with a different idea. Just out of the blue. He had did a cold email out to a bunch of producers that he did some research on in the town and found that...
So you two didn't know each other?
Didn't know each other, no. But he reached out and with a script that... It's actually quite a good script. And I do my best to try to read emails that come through, even if it takes me a minute to get to some of them. And unfortunately, a lot of them are a little less experienced than they need to be and need a couple more rounds. But John's script was really quite something. Way too ambitious for the amount of resources he thought that he had at his disposal. So I gave him a call, or maybe met up for a beer and talked him through just kind of, hey, this is what I dig, and you really have talent, but like there's no way you can really pull this off without your production value suffering. So I gave him some thoughts and like broad strokes, like if you really want to come at this is kind of some boundaries you want to put on yourself and some ideas to maybe maximize the budget you have. And never thought I'd really hear from him again. Then like 2-3 months later, I got another text from him. He was like, hey, I got that script we were talking about.
Wow.
And I'm like, what? Okay, so I gave it a read, and that was New Life. I'm like, holy shit, this is actually a very good script.
That's amazing.
And this is actually the cheapest feature I'd ever produced. And
really?
So
that's a feat.
And so you've done it a few times. So when you get to this point, you see the budget that you have, and even though I knew he'd actually crafted something that could be achievable there, it doesn't mean that it would be very easy. It meant that it would take a lot of heavy lift, a lot of favors. And I think I went into my second meeting with him about New Life after I read the script, maybe looking for an excuse, if I'm honest, to kind of write it off. But we met at E Rustic Inn and had a few wings and a couple beers. It turned to a few more beers, and I tried to really feel him out as best I could, and called some other people that worked with him. And by the time we were done with that drink session, we shook on it, and
Nice.
strapped in with him. But
Oh, wow.
that's kind of the story, and we were able to do a little development work along the
Yeah.
way. But the script was really pretty strong, so I was able to add a few notes here and there, and
Yeah.
we were rushing pretty fast to get it moving. And
Because when did you guys start?
2020. Oh my God, spring 2022.
Yeah.
And then that would be
Yeah.
it. So we shot
Wow.
in spring of 2022. And then, of course, with all independent film and especially stuff like this, which has a very limited budget,
Yeah.
there's the triangle of good, fast, and cheap. Have you heard this before?
Yes.
So we live and die by that. I'm going to get a tattoo of that somewhere.
I think you should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so if we wanted to be good, obviously, and we wanted it had to be cheap, so we just could not be fast. And so we had to pick at the post-production process and
Right.
to really kind of slip into some favors when it came to,
Yeah.
powerhouse partners like our great sound mixer Juan Campos, and sound department, who are just amazing.
They're amazing.
Yeah, but they do they're booked, and for
Oh,
what we had
yeah.
too, it's kind of like it was a favor, but also you kind of have to slot into when they have a window, and so
Yeah.
that took some time, and we're able to work with a great colorist, Billy down at oh man, now I'm drawing a blank.
We'll fill it in later.
That's right. We'll fill that in later.
We'll edit that in.
Oh my God. A great colorist as well, who also you kind of had to slip into their schedule as well, and all sorts of other individuals, whether it's visual effects or anything like that, to kind of go through the vendor phase in post takes a long time.
Yeah.
And then also I think the one thing that is often the hardest when it comes to, that I've found with independent films, or really any film, is the last 10% of quality, maybe 20%. Because you kind of you can get to 80, maybe 90% of the potential of a film pretty quick in editing. And you get that maybe within, if you're lucky, a month, maybe two.
Sure.
But it's the last 10-20%, which requires a lot of kind of going back and trying something new and testing it, and that in a lot of ways can take twice as much time as the initial getting to that 80-90%.
That's true.
But it's a commitment to kind of really get into the weeds and
Yeah.
really try to figure out how to really maximize a beat or a character dynamic or anything at all, really satisfy and find the potential. And it's a really frustrating process, and it takes a long time, but John understood that from the start, and since we weren't renting an editing space, it was just out of his house, he was editing it. We could kind of, and he had the commitment to do that, he could keep picking at it. So I think the same process played out for New Life, where it got pretty darn good pretty fast, but then that last 20% took a long time of testing, trying something, going down a rabbit hole, throwing almost everything away, but keeping one thing, discovering something, going at it again, deconstructing it again, and weeks and weeks and weeks, and then eventually landing at where we are. So it's a hard process, but kudos to John for being game and understanding that it was necessary to try to reach the maximum.
Especially for a first-time director.
Oh yeah.
He seems so professional to me. Not that he wouldn't have been, but when I went to the premiere and saw the Q&A and his responses, he was just so professional and so in it and so devoted.
Yeah.
And I just.
Well, John has even though this was his first feature, he's done a lot of shorts.
Okay.
He did a lot of music videos, a lot of commercials and things like that. So
cool.
he's been around, and so he wasn't completely new to the process or to being in a position where he has to kind of articulate a decision in the appropriate way, or kind of, I don't know. He has a lot of great attributes as a director, and personally, the number one thing, again, me being concerned primarily with the team, is his attitude towards other people and his collaborators, and understanding I mean, instinctively, not that I had to beat him over the head about this, but that he always came to the process with a gratitude for his collaborators and an understanding that if he helps build a strong team that cares, ultimately it will be a better product in the end.
Yeah.
And a better process to get the product. So he got that from the start, and
Yeah.
I think that's maybe, and strangely enough, not a lot of other people come at the process with that disposition. So
Sure.
once I personally found that in him and kind of confirmed that with a couple other collaborators, I knew even though he hadn't done a feature yet, he'd be fine.
Yeah.
Because I think that's the foundation for how you scale up anything.
Yeah. I could really tell from the Q&A how grateful he really was for his team.
Oh yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
he
Yeah.
was just so enamored with everyone and the whole
Yeah.
process and
Yeah.
everything. It was so wonderful to see. Do you prefer to produce horrors? Because you have quite a number of them on your IMDb.
I do. I do. It's weird. I love horror films. It's strange. I think, I've produced like a drama. I produced with She's in Portland. I produced, a bunch of other things, short films as well, magical realism, some sci-fi. I guess Aporia is more sci-fi than horror as well.
Sure, yeah. Thriller, sci-fi.
Yeah. So, personally, I love watching everything, and I
Yeah.
love consuming everything. I like the horror space primarily because the fans are just so great, and the community that kind of helps discover and nurture the work in the horror space is hands down incredible. So,
Yeah.
we and I know a lot of these folks by now, and so
Of course.
whether it's a festival circuit or the critics or
Yeah.
the podcasts and such,
Yeah.
I mean, everyone seems to come at it from a place of real love and
Yeah.
respect for the craft and for the history and for the risks that were taken with other artists
So
throughout the
true.
day. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's something that I don't think the other genre spaces have as much. You're coming at it from a real place of love, and and the fact that horror itself can allow for new voices and risk takers,
Oh, yes.
and to discover talent, whether it's
Yeah.
in front of the camera, behind the camera, or a writer, it's the appetite for that, the encouragement for that, and the support of that when you create something is just hands down amazing. So
Yeah.
I love horror mainly for the community and the idea that you can work with people that are just finding their voice and putting out there into the world and taking risks and not trying to maybe follow anyone else's lead or anything like that. There's a lot of
Yeah.
boldness in this genre.
That is
So
very true.
I love that, and a lot of my friends happen to just be in the horror space. So I like working with friends. So
Yeah.
that's kind of
Who doesn't?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Especially in the pressure cooker we're talking about.
Right, yeah.
So yeah, very important to
Yeah.
have good friends with you in the.
Do you have
in the
anything
pressure.
in the works right now?
Yeah, I've got a few things in the works,
Amazing.
and one of them that we're casting right now is John's new feature. So it's very
Amazing.
exciting. Yeah.
Oh, that's so exciting.
Yeah.
One of my favorite questions
Okay.
is, do you have a favorite horror movie?
Sure. Of
Recent or classic or all time?
course. It changes. I imagine.
Oh,
Does
yeah.
yours change?
All the time.
Okay, great.
All the time.
I think recently, I don't know if it counts, but The Burbs would probably have to be my favorite for a while.
Oh, yeah.
And not that it's like full on horror, but it's got
Uh-huh.
some nice scary stuff. I just love Joe
Yeah.
Dante's tone with things.
I
and-
have not seen it front to back.
Oh my God, you
Um,
have to.
but
And you've seen
yeah.
Gremlins, right? So
Oh, yes.
it's the same tone, but like
Okay.
maybe a little more humor, and it's amazing. But I don't know, Alien and strangely enough, I end up thinking about The Others a lot.
The Others.
Yeah, that
I
creeps
recently
into my-
revisited
Really?
The Others, yes.
I haven't. It's weird. I haven't seen it maybe for a good 5 years, but it keeps creeping in my. I think it's just a masterpiece of suspense, and
It really is.
it scared the shit out of me. I think
Yeah,
every
me
time I
too.
watch it, it does. So And recently, Mike Flanagan's work is just amazing.
Oh
And
my god.
I think Haunting of Hill House series is maybe the most, yeah,
Yeah.
perfect,
Yeah.
haunting, moving work for a long time. So
Yeah.
that might be the most recent thing. I mean, Talk to Me is great. Obviously, there's a lot of cool stuff coming out of the festival circuit that I was able to
Yeah.
see. Saw Things Will Be Different, which is great, done by Mike Faulkner, who's a friend of
Nice.
mine, and not to randomly plug friends, but I think he did an
Please.
excellent job.
Yeah.
Watch for that guy coming out soon.
Okay.
It's really, really good, and it's contained as well,
Okay.
organically, and interesting, kind of character-driven stuff. Kind of
Cool.
like Justin Benson, Aaron Moorhead. He's
Okay.
part of that crew.
Oh.
Speaking of which, David Lawson, who is our executive producer on New Life,
Uh-huh.
is their producer. Justin
Oh.
and Aaron also help produce
Nice.
the Things Will Be Different as well.
Uh-huh.
And he's a really good dude. And out of all the producers that John reached out to, which we were talking about a little bit ago, the only two people got back to him, and it was me and David Lawson. So
Oh, okay.
David was involved with that for
Yeah.
development stuff from the start too, and it's been a champion of the film. So
That's
it's cool
amazing.
to
Yeah.
yeah. It's
Oh,
small
that's so
world,
cool.
really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool that he's using the same people. I think it's good to
Yeah.
do that.
It is.
You
There aren't
know?
that many of us.
Yeah.
It's strange. You kind of, yeah. Not that many people are crazy enough to do what we do, or stay
Right.
with it.
Yeah, but when
Is,
you like click with certain people on a project and you've endured all the
Yeah.
stress and
Yeah, yeah,
everything,
yeah.
and it's
Sure.
like, oh yeah, well, it just comes naturally that you all
Yeah.
should work together again.
Yeah, there's a whole
Yeah.
crew of people like Ariel Vida and Katie Simon, who came up through production design, did all of their stuff, and I've worked with
Okay.
them several times too. Now Ariel is directing her own stuff, which is great as well.
Cool.
Vide Noir and Term Season just came out, and some other cool stuff. And
Okay.
so it's great. You kind of get this core group of people that come up and
Yeah.
scrap a little bit together. And if you're lucky, as a producer, when you call to offer them a job, they can't do it because they're doing something else, either for a lot more money
Right.
or they're getting to direct or
Sure.
whatever they want to do. So it's a great feeling. And
Yeah.
a lot of the core crew is starting to kind of move into that position. So
Yeah.
it's nice.
That's so great.
Yeah. Yeah.
You mentioned Alien.
Yeah.
I love Alien.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
It always tosses back and forth for me between Alien and Aliens.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
But Alien, I want something like that again. But
100%.
I don't know if it's gonna, you know.
I don't know. I mean, so much of that was the time and Ridley Scott and the aesthetic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I hope someone will, and I'm a big fan of the series in general,
Yeah.
or the whole universe. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of different incarnations of that. But yeah, Aliens is such a different tone.
It really
love it. It's
is.
also a perfect movie, but Alien is a straight up horror movie, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's intense.
I remember seeing bits and pieces when I was a child and being like, what? What is
Yeah.
happening?
Yeah, yeah, it's
like
terrifying.
the dinner scene. I don't know if it's dinner for
Yeah.
them, but you know,
Yeah, sure.
and that just completely scarred me as a kid.
As it
And-
should.
And
When
yet,
how old were you when you saw it?
I can't remember. I just
Probably too
know
young.
probably too young, like most of us.
Yeah.
My mom was all about watching like horror, thriller, sci-fi movies
Yeah.
on weekends, and I just remember as a kid walking into the living room and hearing, you know, screams and horrible sounds and being like, "Mom, what are you watching?"
First of all, you have a really cool mom.
She's great. Hi, sweetie.
Yeah. Second of all, wait, what's your favorite horror movie at the moment?
Ugh. That's too hard. Well, I just recently did a video about Evil Dead 1 versus 2.
Yeah.
And
It's a good deep dive.
I loved Evil Dead 2.
Yeah.
I just think
It's
it's so
great.
fun.
It's also perfect.
It is also perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, I'm gonna say that for
Okay,
right now.
that's a good answer.
Yeah.
That's a great answer.
It's why?
It's gonna be part of the show.
It's a mascot. You have a couple mascots.
Oh, we
right
have
now.
a
It's great.
couple,
Yeah.
It's the perfect mixture, I think, of comedy and horror.
Yeah.
And
100%.
I don't think people always know how to do horror comedy,
Right.
you know?
And it's weird because I wouldn't say it's like a quote unquote horror comedy,
Right.
but it's a horror with levity, with comedy in it, and
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
and you're right, that's a tough nuance.
Yeah.
It really is tough. Mortuary Collection was something I did with Ryan Spindell, who's a
Right.
really old friend of mine, and
Yeah.
we go back to grad school and did a bunch of shorts and things
Yeah,
over
yeah,
there
yeah.
that I would produce for him, and he really understands that more than anybody I've worked with when it comes to
Wow.
that tone.
Yeah.
And I learned a lot from watching him and collaborating with him over the years with how he approaches certain the managing that tone.
Right.
And what kind of came out of it is that, in my opinion at least, you know, when you stretch the range a little bit and you give that release
Mm-hmm.
with humor,
Mm-hmm.
then allows you to kind of dial in and feel the pull back into the tension. If you just stay
Right.
at that boiling tension point, I mean, it's
Yeah.
gonna lose its sense of dread, its sense of foreboding, because it's just
Right.
gonna get dull after a while.
Yes. Yeah.
So by kind of releasing it and coming back, not only does it feel fun, but
Yeah.
and it gives you that range, but it also, I think, really amplifies the beats of fear and suspense and tension
Absolutely.
and ultimately horror,
Yeah.
more than just a film that doesn't bother to do that at all. So
Yeah.
I have a huge respect for anyone who can pull that off. It's super difficult.
Yes.
Yeah. When I first got out to town a long time ago, I've been in LA for like 17 years now. And I'd done a few different things to kind of get into the industry, but knowing I wanted to produce, I had a friend who was like, you know, you should really spend some time in the studio system of things and learn
Right.
that side of how to like speak to agents and managers
Yeah.
and studio execs and such.
It's a
and
great skill.
yeah, and so he was leaving his job at the time. He was assistant to two literary managers that repped horror writers and directors.
Oh, cool.
So I took his job and did that for a couple of years and learned a lot about development and you know, career management, and also how to kind of like speak that language, which is
Yeah.
its own thing,
Mhm.
that I think producers should probably learn how to do. Since we
Absolutely.
kind of have to have one foot in both worlds
Yeah.
sometimes. But a lot of great clients that I got to learn from and listen to and got to know pretty well, like Toby Hooper and Clive Barker and
Wow, yeah.
Darren Bousman and people.
Yeah.
And I remember someone once said on a call when he was being interviewed, and someone had asked him why he likes to do horror in general, why he's attracted to that genre.
Yeah.
And he had a really insightful response that stuck with me, which is the horror and dread and fear is the only emotion, human emotion, that we don't get to experience on a day-to-day, you know,
That is
existence. Hopefully.
Hopefully.
And
Yes.
you know, you can kind of laugh, you can, you know, kind of feel melancholy, you can, you know, whatever. But when it comes to fear, like, and getting that adrenaline rush, and
Right.
like, you kind of have to go to a roller coaster. You have to, you know, like,
Exactly.
you could seek it out. And
Yeah.
so it's, for him at least, it was that was something really exciting to be able to deliver that
Yeah.
ride.
Yeah.
And you know, if you think about it like a roller coaster too, it's not just the drop, you know, that is enjoyable. It's also, you know, you're
Right.
there with a friend, they're scared, you know,
Yeah.
the humor in that. So if you can deliver a film which has a whole range of horror and comedy and
Yeah.
like the whole roller coaster experience,
Yeah.
I think you're checking a lot of boxes
I
for the
think so.
experience of the viewer. So
Yeah.
there might be something to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Another fun question I like to ask is, do you have any ghost stories?
Oh yeah.
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 Do
I've
you
got ghosts.
believe?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have so many ghost stories. Not like that sounds like I'm a crazy man, but I like
You're
to.
a ghost hunter, is that what you're saying?
I am a ghost. I love experiencing. I love going to different weird places. I guess I'll share one with you, which is related to production.
Oh.
And we made a short film called The Babysitter Murders back in the day, which
I saw.
you know trivia, which is the original title of you know, Halloween. And so we made this short film called The Babysitter Murders. Ryan Spindell had written and directed that, and this was going to be a proof of concept to try to get money for the mortuary collection.
Oh,
And so,
got it. Okay.
yeah, so Kickstarter, we were able to raise about $60,000 to spend,
Nice.
which is great for a short
Yeah.
film, and like more than we've ever had
Absolutely.
to spend. So we were shooting around town, and our main location was this beautiful old creepy mansion, which is down in West Adams, and
Ooh.
like everybody shoots there. Now that I've been there, I see it like in every other horror movie. I mean, it's
Yeah.
a golden place that people went. Lots of
Right.
character, beautiful, cool old place, and so, 60,000 doesn't really go that far, and so like I couldn't afford overnight security or anything. We had all of our equipment
Right.
stuff there, so I would spend the night there.
Oh my gosh.
And it's a pretty rough neighborhood.
Mm.
It's kind of like there'd be some crazy stuff going
said
on that
West
are not
Adams?
West Adams. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
cool neighborhood, but like it's not really like it's pretty rough. So I was
Right.
trying to stay pretty vigilant, and
Yeah.
I brought a little cot, and I would kind of sleep on set. But it was funny. One night, I woke up in the middle of the night hearing a noise. I'm like, "What the hell is that noise?" And so I had a machete. It's the only weapon I have. But I thought someone had like maybe broken in. So I've got
I
this.
love that you just had it.
It's the only thing I have. I mean, like I don't. So I'm sleeping with it. So I have this machete. I'm kind of going around the
Under your
flashlight.
pillow. You just
Yeah.
full-
And there's not like a lot of light bulbs, and it's not like a working house either. So
Right.
like you have like a generator truck, and you have like crew lights. So
Right.
like I'm literally having to use a flashlight going around these different things.
Oh
and
my god.
and I'm on the second floor, and it's coming from above me, which is the attic.
Oh god.
And I remember I'd gone up to the attic, and before, like, just I scoped out the whole house. Saw this
Sure.
beautiful, cool old house.
Yeah.
Went up there, and I saw on the floor a bowl of marbles,
What?
and it's sitting in the corner. And I'm like, well, that's kind of weird.
Yeah.
And there's some other random junk, it's an
Uh-huh,
attic, but it's
sure.
relatively cleared out. A bunch of production's
Yeah.
been through there, so I didn't think much of that. Like,
Right.
went back down, so there's nothing up there. Went back down, laid back down, and I'm starting to fall asleep again. I woke up again, I hear it again, and it's a marble rolling across
Oh my
the,
god.
the barren floor in the attic. It's like, and
Yeah.
it stops, and I'm like,
Oof.
no fucking way. And so I go back upstairs again with the machete and the flashlight. I look, and sure enough, there are marbles on the other side of the room now.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh man, I'm like, that's not cool. So I go back
That's really not
downstairs and I
cool.
slam a rap beer, and I find a fan, and I turn on a fan really loud, and I
Yeah.
hug my machete, and
Yeah.
So I couldn't hear the marbles.
Right.
But yeah, that was spooky, and that's in the
Oof.
Babysitter Murderer's house.
Oh my god.
But yeah, really, the things that we do, the places we
Yeah.
get to go are pretty cool.
Yeah.
To do the stuff that we
That
do.
was going above and beyond.
That's what producers have to do sometimes.
love it.
Yeah, you can't afford the security. You gotta
Yeah.
do stuff. It's not my first time spending the night at locations.
Oh gosh. Now I want a machete.
I don't know if it helps, but yeah, it makes you sleep better at night. Go for it.
I mean, anything to help get some rest.
Yeah,
That's really the main thing that you need.
you
on
need
set.
as much as you can.
So, yeah.
Absolutely, as much as you can.
Yeah.
Oh, look, we have a little.
Oh, thank
That's,
you.
I think that's about bigger than mine. Actually,
Is this
was.
fair?
Mine was like a decorative thing that my uncle got me at some point. Back, I don't know. It was somehow.
But
yeah.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So
Um,
that's a good ghost story, I guess.
That's a great ghost story.
It's okay.
I love it. You said you worked for literary agents.
Yeah.
For horror. Do you
Yeah.
read a lot of horror as well
Um,
as watch?
Not so much. I mean, I read a lot of horror scripts.
Sure.
Um,
Does
the-
that count?
Yeah, sure, I guess. Yeah, I mean, the term lit agents or lit managers or reps are just kind of for the writers and directors. So
I see,
it's
I
kind of
see.
like yeah. But yeah, learned a lot. Cool people. And,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very cool. Were they here in LA?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was a company called Evolution Entertainment.
Evolution
And
Entertainment.
they had some great clients back in the
Cool.
day. They had a literary and a talent department for actors.
Sure.
And they produced a bunch of things. But
Yeah.
their production arm was Twisted Pictures. And
Oh.
so, yeah, they did the Saw films and other stuff.
Yeah.
And so while I learned a lot under the managers, I really kind of started to befriend and learn a little bit more from the president of Twisted Pictures, Carl Mazzacone. And he was doing the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre at the time.
Cool.
And so I talked to my guys, my two other bosses, and they said it would be cool. So I called Carl. I'm like, Carl, I want to get back into production. You know me. Do you need a hand down in Louisiana? And he's like, yeah, I can be on a flight tomorrow. I'm like, yeah. So I quit that job and went down there and got back into production. And, became his assistant, the assistant to the director as well. So kind of bounced around the two of them.
Okay.
And that was a big feature, the biggest I've ever seen. It was about 15 million or so. And so
I watched the trailer for that one because I couldn't remember which one that was.
Yeah.
But it was like the 2013 Texas
it's like
Chainsaw
Alex
Massacre.
Daddario. Scott Eastwood and people. And it was a really great experience. I learned a lot from that producer, and getting to kind of be part of such a massive machine. I mean, there was like a couple hundred people sometimes running around in the middle of the night, and so I learned a lot from that, and I got to know Carl pretty well, and eventually I produced like some pickups and stuff for them, and earned like an associate producer credit. So like my first quote unquote producer credit was that in a real movie, a feature, and then I stayed with Carl for a little bit, did some development, and helped kind of get some other stuff going, and learned even more. And so he was kind of became like a mentor of mine, and I still pick his brain about a lot of stuff.
My favorite question.
Hit me.
Why do you think people keep coming back for more when it comes to horror? Like, what is it about horror that we love so much that we can't get enough of?
That's a really good question. No, it's weird, and I feel like I've given this a lot of thought over the years because, people ask me a lot why I like horror and why I do it too, and I'm sure you get the same.
I do.
And so you have a reason.
Yeah.
And it probably feeds into that.
Yeah.
Why it resonates with everybody, not just us.
Yeah.
From the very first stories that were told, that helped survival of humans. I mean, Ugg and Mug, the cavemen, in a cave somewhere over a fire, were telling scary stories because they're trying to help people survive. So they're like, Ugg went out there to get a thing, and the saber-toothed tiger ate him, and everyone was like, "Oh my god!" And it's like it was big, it was like roar, and and the kids are like, "Ooh!" And so they see, don't go out there when the saber-toothed tiger's there. So I think cautionary tales are the first stories. If I had to put my finger on it, probably that we told each other just out of sheer survival.
Yeah.
So my gut is, and I could be completely wrong, that we as like a species are hardwired to really listen and pay attention and soak up cautionary tales.
Right.
Because they could instinctively, even though this isn't really, we're not a lot of saber-toothed tigers anymore. I don't know, maybe, but not in LA, I hope.
Yeah.
But there still are other saber-toothed tigers out there. And the fact that we are hopefully, I think, hardwired to try to learn and hear cautionary tales about that scratches a primal itch in us.
Right.
And so, they're entertaining. They're great. Like we talked about earlier, they're so much fun. They're awesome to see new ways to experience, stories and cinema. But I think also there's a primal need, a desire to experience this so that maybe you understand your world better, you feel a little safer in the world. It's a catharsis, but also I think it is the very foundation of what stories are, which is, again, just this Ugg and Mug cautionary tales go way back to our DNA.
Yeah. I'm now thinking about like why we watch the news or read the news every day. Right. That is also a form of a cautionary tale.
We're wired that way, for better, for worse, and it can be dangerous. I mean,
it can be.
Maybe too much news is a thing. There's a whole thing called cruel world syndrome. If you watch too much, like local news, especially, there's a lot of, doom and gloom, which sells, but it can modify your worldview. Yeah. So we have to be careful what we soak up, but I think knowing that, storytelling in the form of cinema is just that, it's a story. I don't think people that absorb a lot of horror films necessarily, it's in a weird way, it's kind of the opposite. All my friends that love horror tend to be a little more happy, a little bit more optimistic in a weird way, and
I love
jovial
that.
about about all sorts of things. So
Yeah.
it's strange. Yeah, there's a parallel with news, consuming news, and I, as someone who consumed too much news, especially lately, I do think it probably pulls me down. But watching a good horror film can often lift me up. So
Yeah.
who knows what the correlation is there.
Hopefully we watch horror to have that happy ending, you know.
Yeah.
Even if it doesn't have a happy ending,
Yeah.
the happy ending is, well, I didn't die while
Yeah.
watching that. So
Yeah, exactly.
I wasn't
Yeah.
Killed by a machete just now. So
That's right. That's right.
that feels good.
Yeah. I mean, it's a release. It's a catharsis. It's
Yeah.
experiencing this thing from a safe distance, and
Right.
I think what really scares all of us is stuff that we don't know, and the anxiety
Yeah.
behind, and the anticipation of something potentially, that is all around us, something scary, and
Yeah.
so, we have various levels of what scares us, but I don't think there's someone walking around that nothing,
Right.
scares them. So
Yeah.
the fact that we all kind of have these fears that are germinating in our head, to be able to kind of experience a release of fear and adrenaline in
Yeah.
a safe space is probably good.
It bonds
It's got to be
us.
pretty healthy.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
would think so.
Especially with a crowd.
Yes.
Yeah, that bonds us too.
Yeah.
That's quite the experience.
I think we're a very mentally healthy group.
I
don't
think
think
so.
there's anything wrong.
No, definitely not with anybody.
Yeah, we love horror. That's not a problem.
There's nothing wrong
There's
with that.
nothing wrong with us.
No, no. 100% straight laced.
Well, on that happy note, I think I'm going to end this here.
Okay.
But thank you so much for
Oh,
being on the show.
It's been my pleasure.
I appreciate it immensely, and I think you're just an amazing person and incredibly talented and a supreme well of information.
Oh, God.
So
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I love the show, so thank you for having
Thank
me.
you.
Really appreciate it.
Well, that's it from me. Thank you for watching. You can watch New Life at home on Amazon, Apple TV, and YouTube. Remember to check out Justin's previous work and his upcoming work, and follow him on social media at @TJustinRoss. Please don't forget to like, comment, follow, and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram and Letterboxd to see what I'm watching, what I'm reading. Bye, babe.